There was always something about the ocean that called to her. Mira didn't grow up near the water. She was found as a toddler, alone on the steps of a monastery miles inland, wrapped in seaweed-damp cloth with no name and no memory. The nuns who raised her often said she was calm and quiet, except during storms. On those nights, she'd wake screaming from dreams she couldn't explain, with the taste of salt water in her mouth and the roar of waves still echoing in her ears. By her 20s, Mira was drawn back to the coast, pulled by a compulsion she didn't understand. She couldn't explain it, but being near the sea made her feel whole. And when she swam, something stirred deep in her bones. It began with small things. The tide would rise unnaturally high when she waded in. Seabirds circled her in perfect spirals. Shells would arrange themselves at her feet in strange patterns she couldn't decipher. Fish followed her like guardians. The locals whispered about her, called her the salt-born girl, and kept their distance. One day, after a long swim beyond the cove, Mira emerged from the sea with barnacles growing in perfect spirals on her arms. The doctor was baffled. When she scrubbed them away, they grew back by morning. And then came the night of the blood moon. The entire town was awoken by an unnatural current, strong enough to tear boats from the docks. Mira was found at the center of it, unconscious and floating above a glowing whirlpool that hadn't existed before. When she came to, she spoke in a language no one understood. Even she couldn't recall what she'd said. From that day forward, the ocean began to change. Ancient shipwrecks surfaced from nowhere. Forgotten sea creatures, species thought extinct, began appearing near the shore. Weather patterns shifted when Mira was upset. The tide followed her footsteps like a shadow. Desperate for answers, she dove into the deepest trench near the coast, a place feared by fishermen and avoided in maps. What she found there changed everything. A temple, buried beneath centuries of coral and stone, with murals of merfolk, not the glittering fantasies from fairy tales, but regal beings with eyes like hers. And at the heart of the temple, a throne of sea glass, empty, waiting. The walls whispered her name. Not Mira. Marineth. The sea had not forgotten its queen. In a surge of memory and magic, the water around her shimmered, and visions unfolded, a war lost long ago, a desperate escape, a baby hidden away on land for safety. She was not just born of the sea. She had ruled it. Now, with her memories awakening and the ocean reclaiming its queen, a choice stood before her: return to the waves and embrace her forgotten destiny, or remain on land and live as a shadow of who she was. But the sea had waited too long. And it was calling her home.